Let's talk about some juicy scoop, girls.
Wah, wah.
Gay people.
Don Lemon let me tell everybody what happened. So you would know this guy. He's been on CNN for a year. One time I was on a round table with him at on Wendy Williams. And he's anyway, well liked, but had some controversy. So I guess he kind of got a little bit demoted, possibly in his opinion, that he was on the evening run, and now they put him in this like wannabe View show with these two other women. And about a month ago, he got very angry with this one new girl who's there. He felt she was cutting him off. Done a little research.
I didn't know that.
I think they were each kind of interrupting each other, but he's 56 and a man, and she's 30, and he barked at her.
Caitlin Collins.
And
behind
she does
the scenes,
bug.
and she did start to cry. So
Oh,
then,
Get over yourself.
so
Caitlin.
then he does the show, and Nikki Haley, who is a Republican who is going to run for president, had said, I think that there should be some type of mental competency test for people running for president.
Over 75.
Over 75, which I'm sorry, I totally agree. I was the same way 20 years ago about people as they get older having to take their licenses and all that type of stuff for driving. I just think so. But anyway, okay, could be something maybe. And he's probably not a fan of hers to begin with, but he went on to say, well, you're not in your prime as 51. And he kept doubling down. And the two women are like, do you mean to give childbirth? Because that would make sense, you know?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, just any kind of prime. Like, Google it, Google it, Google it. Only a woman is in her prime, in her 20s, 30s, maybe her 40s, but in her 50s, she's not in her prime. So she can't talk about them being in her prime when she's clearly not in her prime. And they're like, and they kept being like, are you sure? Whoa, lucky me. I'm barely making it at 40, the one girl goes. And he goes, hey, I didn't write Google. Like, fuck, I'm like, what are you talking about? Google? Like, it was so weird. So they get upset. Everyone freaks out. And then he does an apology while he's in Mexico with his boyfriend, which was pre-scheduled.
Yeah.
And he does one. He goes, hey, look, I'm sorry to the staff or whatever. I'm sorry if I said something, like, I'm sorry, whatever, if I hurt you. But like, all my best friends are girls. And I'm friends with all these female journalists.
Not that old chestnut.
So I can't.
Okay, Don.
So he's like, so I can't be sexist if I have friends that are women.
Totally.
I mean, I'm surprised he didn't go, hey, I'm a gay man, so I can't be anti-feminist. But he didn't say that. He just said, I'm friends with, and they're like, that's as bad as saying, like, I had a black friend in kindergarten, so I can't be racist. It was up there with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
People are calling for him to be fired. Other people are saying, I don't think he needs to be fired. Nobody's watching the show anyway.
He probably already feels fired because he got moved from primetime to the morning.
I don't know if anyone also saw when he left he had a primetime show at 10 p.m. on CNN every night for 4 years. Now, Don Lemon is also someone who talks about himself as Don Lemon.
Okay.
So let's just start there.
You mean he says Don Lemon likes...
Yes, and he also, because I watched his outro of his own self to his show, and he had to move. He basically acted like from Don Lemon Tonight. He was like, it's been an amazing 4 years of Don Lemon Tonight. Don Lemon has been... It's like...
So his show did kind of end, though.
Because
the show ended. Also, this is live, okay? And I do think that things come out about people that are true, and that is the way they really feel.
Yeah.
And the thing that pops in, this is how he really feels about women. And for example, all the reasons we've said. And it reminds me of when Kelly Osbourne said, well, Donald Trump, if you're not going to allow any immigrants into this country, or she said Mexicans, I think, who's going to clean your toilet? Remember that? I think that was the worst moment.
I don't remember that.
I think that was and I'm sorry, Kelly Osbourne, I know you're a mom and you probably are pissed I'm reminding everybody, but it was the worst. I think it was the worst moment of a live TV talk show host person to say that, because she's like, well, no, of course I don't mean that. I'm like, yeah, you do. And your perspective is of that because you were a rich person who grew up in Beverly Hills around rock stars who was on a TV show, and your perception is that. And it came out.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that he thinks that those two women are in their careers are beneath him. And if women were not in their quote unquote prime in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, he wouldn't be sitting there with two numbnuts. He'd be sitting there with a woman his same age, but he wasn't. He was put to it, and he'd have someone who's equal, who's a peer, who's been in the industry that long. And he wasn't sitting with them. He was sitting with two women who are much, much younger than him. And Caitlin Collins isn't even in her 40s yet. Tucker Carlson did a full segment on this, and every single time he said his name, called him Don Lemon. Don Lemon, okay? And I couldn't take it. I was like, this is so funny. And then he's like saying, look at Don Lemon. He's so fabulous. And he's so sassy. And he's showing all these pictures of him like shirtless and calling him sassy and fabulous.
Well, it reminds me of when Dave Chappelle, when he talked about Juicy, he called him Juicy instead of Jussie Smollett. He called him Juicy Smollett. Do you know this guy, Juicy Smollett? Speaking of which, that was another thing Don got in trouble for.
Oh, that's right.
He tipped off Juicy Smollett
Yeah, that's
that
right.
they were on to his fake
That's right.
his fake kidnapping or attack or whatever. Well, we'll see what happens, but
I don't think he's going to get fired.
but I have always said, listen, you can't always have the ideal age for when the person gets into the presidency. But for me, I've always felt the ideal age is like about 47 to about 65. I don't think we should kill them like that movie When You Die at 30, Logan's Run. I don't think it should be that. If you're good, you can continue. But ideally, yeah, that is. So that was what's so weird when he was saying the prime, because it was clearly sexist, because because anyone would agree a prime age for being a president really is the 50s, if it can work out that way.